This entire exercise has been done to make sure that you get to enjoy the firearm and that you know exactly what to do in order to get the most out of it. Out! Woo! She's burning! She's burning! Oh yeah, massive fireballs. All right, gents, here we have the next day. We're now doing the torture test. We have 750 rounds through. We believe that some of the springs might be starting to give in. When we did the breakdown, and we found that the recoil spring is slowly giving in, causing a mark on the barrel by the carrier group. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Eventually, we'll need to replace that. With the ejector and extractor springs, you've measured the length. What did you find?
So I measured a brand new, so springs when they were brand new, springs at 250 rounds, springs at 750 rounds. And for some of the springs, there was almost no compression. So they're actually lasting really well. One of the springs compressed, I think it was like 2 millimeters. I have to look at the spec sheet, but it isn't actually compressing as much as I thought it would be. So they might actually last longer than I initially thought, which is good. But that's one of the things we're doing, is measuring the springs at certain intervals so we can actually gauge where the spring life is going to fail, so that way we can actually tell the customers, hey, at this point in time, you need to look at replacing the springs as a normal maintenance for the weapon.
Yeah. So then we have an indication of what sort of round count, and then the customer can take it out and actually measure the length of the actual spring under non-tension, I guess. And that'll give him an indication of where he's at.
Yeah, so instead of going like, you must change your springs at 2,000 rounds, you give them a measurement, because they might be running their gun really hot. They might fire 100 rounds really fast, and that will deteriorate the spring faster than if you fire 100 rounds slowly because of the heat. So if you give them the measurement, and when they're cleaning their gun, they can just check the length, then they go, okay, I'm getting to this, this sort of length. It's looking like it might have X amount of millimeters left. Now I'll order my spring kit, and then I can put it in at the next service, and then the gun will last you for a lot longer than just running it until it fails and then having to wait for a spring kit to come
and fix everything else that broke in the meantime. No, that's cool. Any comments from you? Anything to pick up?
I'll be interested to see how those ejector springs, so the ejector and the ejector and the extractor springs go, because as I said, like, they're not actually degrading as fast as I thought they were. They are softer than, like, let's say, a standard AR-15 one to start with, which is what I'm kind of gauging it against because it's what I know best. But yeah, they're softer to start with, but they're actually lasting longer than I thought. So they might not actually fail at 800. They may end up failing 1,500 or whatever. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
1,500. We'll see. I think the recoil spring is not going to last that long.
No, probably not. Yeah.
I think we got probably, 200 rounds?
Well, yeah, looking at the graph that I've made from measuring a brand new one, 250 and 750 rounds, the graph that I'm able to predict, it looks like it's probably going to fail in the next 400.
Okay.
If it fails at the same rate, if it compresses at the same rate that it has been compressing.
Yeah.
It may compress faster, so it might be exponentially worse, or it could be a straight line graph. Who knows? We'll figure that out today.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Just keep an eye on it.
Yep.
All right, let's get ready. Let's go. $40. No, it came out. Oh, yeah. Okay. So that's 40. You got 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. We'll just do them in lots of hundreds.
All right, so we're at about 825 rounds, and we've had a failure to eject. At this point, it's probably starting to look like the ejector or extractor springs are starting to get too soft to eject correctly, or conversely, the gas system is getting extremely dirty. However, we have cleaned it at the 750 mark, so I'm going to try and rule that one out. Or it could be the return spring could be compressing so much that we're now having ejection issues. So there's a couple of things we'll need to check now. I'll fire the rest of this magazine and see if it does it again within the next 5 rounds. But then I would say we probably need to pull it apart and double check some spring lengths before we go any further.
All right.
We'll definitely have to test, like, just do the recoil spring.
Yeah.
Rule that out. Move on to the next thing, because then we can actually isolate the thing. There's no point changing 3 springs and then you don't know what actually has fixed the problem, so we can't gauge it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right, let's finish that off and take her apart. Okay, gentlemen, we are now changing the recoil spring and see what the impact is. So after, what are we at? 820?
830.
830 rounds. So this is basically the difference in length of the 2 springs, a brand new one on the bottom, and then the compressed one up the top. So we give that a crack and let's see what happens. Now we'll be shooting the next 100 rounds, seeing if the ejection problem is resolved with the new recoil spring. If not, we'll have to go and exchange the extractor and ejector spring, and then yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah, so still getting pretty sloppy. So they're still ejecting a bit sloppy, so
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I don't think the recoil spring has changed much.
Well, there's 30 left, so 870.
Yeah.
870, 1 round bounced back in. See if that happens again. But it seems like we're coming to the end of the ejector or extractor spring.
Did it
Yeah,
again?
it did it again. Alright, so that's 2 in a row. So we see more and more. Stop. It's back in. Yeah, I reckon it's time. It's starting to be sloppy. We've got 3 within 20 rounds. All right, we'll stop here and exchange the springs. What do you reckon?
Yep, sounds good. Do you want to put the original recoil spring back in so we can get that failing? Now that we know that this isn't the issue.
Well, we could test it, yeah.
Yeah, because I want to see how far that will actually compress until
Yeah.
it fails, and then we know the measurement for it.
Okay. Because this holds us back from shipping. Where's the accuracy test? We've confirmed it's good enough.
Yeah.
But how good is it?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. Yeah. Like if I could shoot a 0.9 and a 1 MOA group with shit ammunition, 2 groups in a row, fucking happy.
Yeah, it's more than what
It's meant to.
meant to, yeah, for sure. The bolt doesn't get that hot, eh?
No, I noticed that, which is good. Which one has the more likelihood to cause that ejection issue?
Probably the ejector. I would dare say it would be the ejector.
All right, for some guys that don't know the difference between the ejector and extractor, do you want to show on a bolt which one's which?
Yeah. So that is the ejector. That is the extractor. So the extractor is the claw that goes into the rim of the cartridge to pull it out of the chamber. The ejector, by the name, is the thing that ejects the cartridge. People always get those two confused, and I often get people say, hey, I've got an extraction issue, but it's actually an ejector issue, or hey, I've got an ejector issue, but it's actually an extractor issue, because I don't fully understand how those two things work. Extractor extracts, so it pulls it out of the chamber. Ejector ejects it, pushes it out of the gun.
Righto, awesome. And as we've seen in the video, we have an ejection problem, not an extraction
Correct.
problem.
Yeah.
How would an extraction problem come about? Like, what would it look like?
So an extractor problem would be the cartridge would stay in the chamber, and the extractor, because the spring would be so loose, it would jump over the rim. So the bolt would come rearwards, but the rim wouldn't come out of the chamber.
Okay.
But it's confusing because it can do both, right? So if the extractor's not strong enough,
Yeah.
it might be enough to get it out of the chamber, but it's not enough to hold it there while the ejector
Yeah.
pushes it out of the gun. So it could
So
be
it
either.
slips off and
Yeah.
then falls out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it could be either.
Yep.
I think it's more than likely the ejector, because we've seen some rounds are just flopping out of the gun, some are coming out with a bit of force. I think it's probably the ejector, not the extractor, but we'll see. Yeah, so if it, Jesus fucking Christ.
Right then.
We have changed the ejector spring. So now once we're firing again, we're going to see if that issue we had of ejection goes away. It might not. If it does, we've isolated the issue and we can change the springs out and we know when they're failing. If it doesn't resolve the issue, then there may be something else within the gun we need to start looking at. That's the thing with testing, is you do repetitive things over and over again and try to find the result.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
9,
9.
10, and that's that half mag from before.
Okay. Do you want to check the
So I think at the end of this mag it'll be 920. So still ejecting a little bit shitty.
But they eject forwards.
But they are
I haven't
ejecting
seen a
forwards, yeah.
backwards one yet.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on that. But that might have sorted that out.
So basically now we have a replaced recoil spring, ejector spring, and extractor spring. And now we can see a really good ejection and extraction again. So at this point, I would say we're looking at close to 1,000 rounds before they need to be replaced. Now again, as Ed mentioned, we'll provide the measurements so that you can see at what measurement you should be replacing them. We had 1,450 rounds. We haven't oiled her for like 400 or so rounds. I did for the last 100 rounds and the ejection completely changed. It ran smoothly again with a little bit of oil and she just needed it. Now everything has been running really well since we changed over the springs. So that's very promising. There's no wear and tear of any concern at the moment, but let's hammer through this and see how we go. So there was one round where there's no strike on the actual round, and that was because I pulled the trigger while releasing the bolt. So I got the timing wrong, so that's what caused that. All right, there you have it. And another 100 rounds done. Took the forend off to let her cool down. Ooh, she is hot tamale. All right, gents, 1,550. Nothing majorly broke. That's amazing. Like I said, there's a few things, but they're all minor. So far, there is nothing on the receiver. There's no wear and tear that makes me think that gun cannot just continue. But we'll see. Let's go with another 100 rounds. That's it. Yes. So another 100. Woo! It's getting late in the day. Hands are hurting. Woo! Too hot. All right, gents. 1,650 and another 100. Out. You get sore in your hand after, 700 rounds.
Might have not let the barrel cool down enough. Seems like she's a bit hot. Blowing some oil off. Out! Woo! She burning. She's burning. And yes, I should have brought some gloves. Lessons learned. It's one of those things, one of the million things we're learning here. 1,750. Yes. We have a failure to eject. We are at 1,770, and I think we basically again at the life of end of the recoil spring. But we'll find out. We'll shoot some more. If that happens again, we'll know. All right, nice. Okay, 1,850. We have 150 left to 2,000. So far the recoil spring is 1 inch shorter than the recoil spring that we exchanged. So I think we're gonna get the 150 done. She still holds up a little bit better than the previous one. We'll see. 150 rounds. We're gonna get there. Okay, we are at 1,950. 50 more rounds, I'll pack up and go home. Long day, as always. The springs are slowly giving in, but we still haven't had a single cycle issue other than one at, I think, 1,800. So it's looking good for the last 50 rounds. It's been a big test. The lessons we've learned is things burn off when they get too hot. What do I mean is that the Loctite in pretty much every screw burned off, and screws need tightening or re-Loctiting if you start running firearms extremely hot. And that's from the gas tube to the pick rail to the main bolts. So that's the biggest lessons I've learned through this process. It's been a pleasure. It's exhausting, but you know, bad day at the shooting range is still better than any day at the desk. So I like to thank the QRA. They have always been fantastic to us and been able to provide us with ranges when we need them, even in very short notice. So a big thank you for the QRA here in Brisbane. And yeah, thank you very much. Now we're going to do the last 50, and then we're done fully, truly with the torture test. There will be another video on the breakdown, all the things that we found, how we're fixing them or how we have fixed them in detail. It also will spawn a video on exactly what to check. I think it's going to be great for customers to just know how to clean, how to maintain, what to check, and then early enough be able to intervene instead of, you know, in many cases that's either the stage lost or the tournament or the competition, or the hunt is ruined, and then, you know, warranty repairs weeks later, you have your gun back. This entire exercise has been done in order to make sure that you get to enjoy the firearm and that you know exactly what to do in order to get the most out of it. I really would appreciate your comments on if you found this inspiring or knowledgeable, if you got something out of it, because this won't be the last one.
The Buckmaster Gen 2M is a few weeks away. I'm sure we're going to do this all over again. I'm not a shotgun guy, so I hope that I have a volunteer to put 2,000 rounds through a shotgun, because my shoulder won't hold up. I got to do 50 more rounds. Oh, shoot. Well, I got a new box here, but I'm just going to jump to the Frontier ones and do 50 of those. That'll do us as well. We used a bit of ammo. Today we did 1,150 rounds, which are predominantly in here, and some are obviously down there. I got to do 50 more rounds. Oh, shoot. Well, I got a new box here, but I'm just going to jump to the Frontier ones and do 50 of those. That'll do us as well. But we'll be right. Last 50 rounds, boys. Let's go. Final. Oh, that was close. Oh, 17. Right. Oh, Jesus. Oh, missed finals. That's different. Oh, you can see it on camera. Last 10, boys. Last 10. That's it, 2,000 rounds. Oh, did I think we got to get there? No, I did not. Did I hope we get there? Yes. Woo, 2,000 rounds, far out. But I'm excited to still going. I want to have everybody have a spring set straight off the bat. So that would mean that you can run this gun 2,000 rounds without anything. Yep, and then you just exchange the springs as you need to, and then you just keep on going. And then after 2,000 rounds, hey, buy a spring set, or we call it a minor maintenance kit. So then you buy that, and then you keep on going. So we're going to take the gun apart. We're going to have a look. We're going to see if there's any wear and tear that will cause issues in the near future. We will do the accuracy test next week. We learned a lot. I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope it was valuable. It certainly was extremely valuable to us and to Celik with all the feedback that we're providing. And this will drastically improve the customer satisfaction of the firearm. I truly believe that. And like I said, I hope you enjoyed the backstage view of what's going on and how we handle things. So thanks, guys. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you soon.